iPad screen, and if everything has gone right, and I think it has, you should be seeing right now a picture of me with a fool's hat. That's my presentation. And here you have my Twitter handle. For those of you who want to continue the conversation, I'm afraid I won't be able to follow up with the Telegram thing because I have several other commitments for the weekend. But if you have some question or some conversation that's pending by the end of my talk, you can reach me here in Twitter, or you can find my email here if you want something more private or whatever. And please feel free to open conversations. I think it's great that these conversations are open and that many people can participate. My goal here today is to speak for maybe 40 minutes. I think that's my deadline, about about the role of OKRs in project management, and in a broader vision, the role on the transformation of our businesses, and how can they help us be more conscious. This is my idea. I will try to spend maybe 20 to 30 of those minutes speaking about what I consider it's the concept of OKRs and why are they important to me. And then I will, let me see, because I also want to have, video here. I will try to spend 10 minutes showing you a practical example, because something that I think happens, and I understand, it's that I do believe that the most important things that you should be focusing on is values and principles and philosophy and mindset. But at the end of the day, many people, when you go to the questions, they are like, yeah, but what can I do on a Monday morning? Is there any tool? Is there any method? Is there any checklist? And I do understand that people need something more tangible to bring home and to start working with something. I was listening today to Fred Kaufman, and I will introduce him later, and he was saying, he was quoting someone else, I can't recall who, and it was, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was a sentence saying something like, you can't change people's minds. That's not possible. I cannot talk to you and change your mind, but I can give you tools. And through the use of those tools, you can eventually create a change in your thought process and in your mindsets. So I will talk about the values and the principles and the mindset, and then I will try to introduce some tools that you might start using immediately. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so let's start with a story. This is a story about 3 ways of thinking about projects and about corporations that I've gone through in the past 20 years. Like, some 15 years ago, I was a project manager. Guess what? I was a project manager. Die-hard PMI guy, you know, work breakdown structure and the whole thing. PMP exams and all that, no, PDUs. And at those times, as a project manager, as a traditional project manager, I did believe that the 3 most important things in the universe were this, let me go back to my preferred, the scope. I had to make sure that I was delivering a certain set of functionalities and requirements by the end of the project, and that was called the scope. And I had to keep a close eye on the scope and be sure that we were delivering everything. If you deliver everything, or if you deliver even something more than what was committed, that is usually considered something good. That's a success. And then the second most important thing in the universe was time. Okay, you have to deliver on time. You have to deliver before the deadline. That was a very, very important part of what being a project manager meant for me, like 15, 20 years ago. And then the third most important thing on the universe was, guess what? Resources, okay? The budget and the people and the machines and all the things that we were spending. And as long as you were able to deliver everything before the deadline and under the budget, that's considered a success. And guess what? It happened to me. It happened to me once. If you haven't had this experience, by the way, it's amazing. Delivering something before the deadline, under budget, with everything that was committed. It happened to me once. And it was fantastic. Everyone was crying and hugging each other. And we had a music band, and there was confetti falling from the top of the buildings. And you know, there was music. And we were like, oh my God, this was amazing. And then we put that thing live. And guess what? Nobody used it ever. And it created a huge scar in my mindset. I was like, you know, it was traumatic because I was like, dude, I consider myself a failure now. And I don't understand because I've been able to deliver everything and under budget and in the proposed deadline, in the time frame. And then nobody's using this thing. I think we are focusing on the wrong thing. And the problem, and you know, the thing was that here we were in project space, okay? And when we are in, oh, sorry, I'm using the Zoom, and usually this is confusing to some of you. I'm going to stop it now. Okay, so here, we were in project space, okay? And when you are in project space, these are the most important things. You have to manage the project. And if you deliver everything, okay, I explain. And then I realized maybe we should be focusing on projects, but maybe we should be focusing more on the products. I mean, the output of these projects. And this is what started me to care about something that I call the product space. And in the product space, you're starting to worry about, are we actually creating something, something useful? Is this something valuable? Is this something that will bring us money? Is this something that people will use? For some time, it became a huge improvement in the way I was performing for my clients. But then I realized that also sometimes we were falling in love with our products, and that was not necessarily a good thing. And the example I use very, very frequently is the Kodak photo film. All of you millennials, you don't know what I'm talking about. So by the way, screw you, you are so young. But for us, the ones that we have like white hair and all that, we remember chemical film, okay? Like before the digital photography, there was chemical film, and then you had to buy these things, these films, that they came like in these cylinders, and you put those into the camera, and then you like prepare them. And then there was one exposure for each of the pictures. We have like 36 pictures in this one. And then once you were done, you have to go to some place, to a chemical lab. So they develop the film and they print the film. And then you could see the pictures and you were like, oh, they were like moved or wrong or too dark, but that was too late. Now the pictures were developed and okay, that's it. That was your shot at the picture. And at some moment, Kodak has had like the best chemical film in the market. Like 70% or 80% of the films that were sold worldwide were the Coca-Cola Gold. Maybe you can remember that. The Coca-Cola Gold, 100 ISO, 200 ASA, 36 pictures. This was like 70%, 80% of the sales of chemical film in the market. And you know, Kodak, they co-invented digital photography. And the first megapixel chipset that was developed in the market, it was Kodak's. The engineers in Kodak, they were working in digital photography, but the managers in Kodak, they were so in love with their product. No wonder they were selling 86% of the market, 70% of the market. They were leaders. They were so in love. They had been doing so for 100 years. They were like pioneers in the world of pictures and photography. And at some given moment in 2001, the top managers in Kodak, they said, you know what? We are not playing catch with the Japanese anymore. We are not going to be following Nikon and Canon and all these Japanese guys that are continuously perfectioning their digital cameras. We are a chemical film company. And those were like basically famous final words. In the sense that now they went bankrupt, and today they are doing things like batteries and sunglasses. It's like nobody remembers Kodak anymore. They were a huge giant, one of the powerhouses in the market. Nobody remembers them anymore. Why? They focus on the product. And the product was great. There was no single chemical film that was better than the Kodak. Maybe the Fujitsu, arguably, but Kodak was like the best. Still, they went bankrupt. Because for me, they forgot about the most important thing in the universe, which is the client. The client is the king. That's the reason he has a crown on top when I draw these guys. And I think that for me, the most important shift in my mindset and in my practice as a consultant, as a trainer, as whatever you can tag me, is to move to problem space. In the sense of do not fall in love with the project, do not fall in love with the product, fall in love with the problem you are solving for the most important person in the universe, who is your client. This person, he or she has a problem that you might have been solving better than anyone else. And that's the most important thing you're doing. And if you consider the person that is taking a picture, the problem that they're trying to solve is, how do I know that this picture is a good picture, is a bad picture? And then suddenly digital photography allows you to look at the picture and say, no, it's not a good picture. I can take it again. And it's free. You can take as many as you want. So suddenly digital photography is solving your customer problem better than chemical film. And that's the reason that Kodak went bankrupt. So basically what happened for me, and it's what I'm trying to speak about, is that I shifted from project management to product management to problem. I don't know if I should say problem management, but I should say customer focus, like customer centricity, putting the customer in the center of everything. And this is an idea that has been around for quite a long time. There are a lot of people that when they describe lean like in the Toyota production system, they say lean is about eliminating waste. And I'm like, no, it's not. Eliminating waste is something you do in lean. You do a lot, by the way. But for me, lean is about maximizing value. And one way of maximizing value is to eliminate waste, defined as anything that the customer wants value. Because for Toyota, and we're talking about Shigeo Shingo, Taichi Ono in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, they said the only person in the universe that can tell you what's value, it's the customer. There's, today we have modern companies talking about stockholder value and management value and owner's value. And there's so much confusion about value. And for me, one of the things that I do as a consultant is let's make a deal. For now on, every single time we talk about value, let's assume we're talking about the customer. Let's assume we're talking about the client. And this is a huge transformation for companies. Let me go further. Fred Kaufman. I mentioned this guy at the beginning of my talk. Fred Kaufman is an Argentinian guy. He was a teacher, a professor of accounting in the MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. But then he started a personal journey that ended with him being a vice president at companies like LinkedIn, an advisor to Microsoft, to AXA, to Google, and writing a couple of books, one of them being Conscious Business. He talks about how companies have to start being conscious about what's the thing we do here, what's the value we bring to the market, who is our customer, what's the problem we are solving. And he has several examples that are too good not to be borrowed. Okay, I'm not copying Fred Kaufman, I'm borrowing examples from him and I'm crediting him, okay? But one of the examples he has, and I love this one, is sorry, I'm going to use the Zoom for a minute. He says, your job is not your job. And this looks like a riddle, okay? Your job is not your job. What do you mean? It's like an oxymoron. But he puts an example. You take any software developer you have in your company, let's say, and you ask, what's your job? And he or she is very likely to answer, well, my job is to program. My job is to code. My job is to write software. No, it's not. Again, you come to this company to solve something. We have a problem. And we think that by having you around, we are more likely to solve that problem and in a better way than if you're not here. And probably in order to solve that problem, you will eventually have to, write some software. But this is not the thing you are paid to do. If you write a bunch of software, but you are solving no problems for our customers, all that software is a waste. And this is a huge problem for many companies these days. For instance, going agile. We're going through an agile transformation. We're doing a digital transformation. And when we ask the managers of this company, what are you trying to achieve in this company with the agile transformation? They point out at this manure mountain, okay, manure in Christian horseshit, okay, which sometimes they call the project portfolio, or the backlog, okay? And they say, my goal is to get rid of this manure here. So a lot of people think that agile is about doing twice the crap twice as fast, so we can get rid of this huge mountain of, sorry, because I know this is a pretty disgusting metaphor, but I think I shouldn't be like, I don't know, placating you companies. This is not about getting rid of your project portfolio. Like, you look at the portfolio and you realize there's like 10 years worth of projects that have already been approved in your company, and you want to go faster so you can decrease the amount of projects in your portfolio, and then you can say, it's not my fault anymore, I'm fast enough. It has never been about that. And eventually you might end up being faster by going agile, but this is not the goal. The goal is not doing twice the crap twice as fast. If you are doing fast, if you're doing crap faster, guess what? You end with a lot of crap. And if you are asking your developers, what's your job? And they say, to develop, we have a problem of consciousness. These people, they don't know what are they supposed to be solving. And I see this in agile teams all the time. Some of you may be more familiar with agile teams. Some of you may be less familiar with agile teams. I don't care. Just try to translate this to your particular common situation, which is, what's the one metric that a lot of agile teams are using? Velocity. Oh, what's velocity? It's value. I'm like, is it though? Because you are measuring velocity as the amount of things you are kicking out of a building at the end of every 2 weeks times the size of those things, which is like, we put some story points and we did 6 things and all of them were 1 point except for the last one that was like 5 points. So now we have 10 points worth of velocity, and that's our velocity. So we have 10 points of value delivered to the customer. And I'm like, what if the customer hates them? What if you put that live and you create a crater of $55 million? Are you still calling that value? And they are like, not my problem, dude. That's what the customer asked for. And I'm one of the things I know about your ecosystem, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think that many companies in your ecosystem, you are outsourcing companies for people that are in other countries, like in Germany and in Spain and United States. And then a lot of people, when I'm consulting, they are like, yeah, but how do I make my customer realize that they're asking for crap? Because the one thing they're measuring from us is throughput, it's performance. How many things you do, how fast you do them, how cheap can you do them? And I'm like, dude, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. Let me go on. Work breakdown structure, also known as working bullshit. Work breakdown structure is this idea we had in project management, where you have a project and what you do is you break that project into boxes, okay? And you isolate those boxes, and then you keep doing that until you achieve the minimum viable box. And then here you assign tasks and deadlines and all that. And you assume that if everyone is meeting their tasks and is meeting their deadlines and is meeting their committed budget, then the project will be a success. And guess what? Huge mistake. Most of the time, I mean, in some places it might work, but most of the time this is sub-optimization. You are assuming that if every piece of the car is doing their job, then the car is optimized. And you're focusing on piece performance instead of looking at complex organism performance. And if something we've learned from lean and systems thinking and complexity theory and agility and several other fields, is that you have to look at the whole. And we are still, running our companies with individual goals and individual performance reviews and individual deadlines and targets and bonus systems. Oh my God, bonus systems that are individual bonuses, which have been proven by science over and over and over to be counterproductive. You know, the evidence is overwhelming against individual bonuses tied to performance. But still we do them because it's what we've been doing for the past, 2,000 years. So we keep doing that in complex environments, and we keep preaching against those. We still do work breakdown structures. Then we complain, oh, I have silos in my company. And we work in silos, and each silo is working on their own, and we never see the whole picture. Same problem. Your job is not your job. The marketing department job is not to do marketing. Operations department job is not to do operations. There's a bigger picture. There's a bigger purpose. There's a bigger why. And I think that this is the ultimate conversation that you should be having in companies, which is, what are we all about? And how are we serving that purpose? And how are we damaging that purpose through the use of traditional tools like work breakdown structure, performance reviews, individual goals, and things like that. Another example by Fred Kaufman again, by the way. He's an Argentinian guy, so he used football a lot as a metaphor. I do not know much about football, especially for being a Spaniard, which is weird. I'm not so keen on football, but I do think that I do enough to repeat this example, which is again by Fred Kaufman. Okay, amazing guy. Be sure to research him. You will sure learn some things if you follow his talks. He has several talks in English and in Spanish. So be sure to research this guy. And he says, imagine a football team, and in this football team, we decide to put bonuses on the field. So we talk to the guy that is in the front of the line. I don't know the scorer, the striker. I don't know what's the name of this guy in English. Anyway, and we tell this guy, hey, you're not going to earn a lot of money, but every single time you score, we give you 1 million scrum dollars, or 1 million coins for each goal you score. And then we talk to the goalkeeper, and to the goalkeeper we say, you're going to earn a lot of money, but every single time you take a goal that the enemy scores, we are going to deduct 1 million coins from your salary, and that's your incentive. And then Fred Kaufman asks, do you think this team is going to win a lot of matches? I don't think so. Because right now you have here a striker that prefers that we lose our game 53-54, that we win 1-0. Because if we lose here, he's earning 53 millions. But if we win here, he's only winning 1 million. So he prefers the first result. Then on the other side, we have a goalkeeper here. He prefers that we lose 0-1, that if we win 54-53, because in the first case, he only loses 1 million. And in the second case, he's losing 53 million. So each of the players of this team is focusing on their own individual results, because guess what? That's the money. That's where the money is. So, and this happens over and over and over in companies. You put individual goals, or you put goals by areas, departments. You put some goal to the purchasing department. You put some goal to human resources. You put some goals to marketing, to operations, and everyone instinctively, immediately become focused on their own personal individual goals. They forget about the whole. And then the problem is, how do we maximize for the whole? How do we keep people focused on the purpose of the company, on the why, on the client, on the problem we are solving, on the value streams? It's so easy for people to say, you know what, at the end of the day, my job is to stop goals. And no, your job is to win matches. But people forget about that. Most of the time, they can't even see how their individual daily tasks are tied to the big purpose of the company. Okay. So let me give you a final example. Again, project management, die-hard PMI, old style, traditional project management. Let's say that I'm here in Barcelona and I want to travel to Madrid. And we make some calculations and we say, hey, this is 600 kilometers. And we believe that we have a bus that it's able to do 100 kilometers per hour. So we believe that we can do the whole thing in 6 hours. That's the deadline. And then also about the budget, we believe that the bus is going to consume about 10 liters of diesel every hour. So 6 hours, 10 liters, 60 liters. That's the budget. That's the resources. That's the amount of things we need in order to perform the project. Okay, so now we have a plan. Amazing. You know, project management is always being about following a plan and making the plan happen. Fixing the universe into your plan, which guess what? Doesn't work. You have to fix the plan to the universe, not the other way around. But anyway, at some given moment, somebody might ask, how's the project going? And as a project manager, I can say, hey, you know what? We've been 3 hours already into the project. And instead of 300 kilometers, which was the plan, we've done 350 kilometers. So even better than expected. And instead of consuming 30 liters of diesel, we have consumed 25 liters of diesel. So it's even cheaper. So easy peasy, we are happy, it's peachy. And then the customer is like, wow, great, fantastic, we are so happy. But he also asks, oh, by the way, which is the last town that you passed by? And I'm like, okay, let me check. I think it was Perpignan in France. And then suddenly you realize we are going in the wrong direction. And that's what happens when you focus only on performance indicators. You remember that thing, KPI, that we love? Okay, we love KPIs, we love metrics. How do you, Birgit was doing a talk on leadership, and one of the questions was, how do you measure yourself as a leader? And I was like, dude, how do you measure yourself as a father? How do you measure yourself as a husband? How do you measure yourself as a, is it really that important that you have a metric for your role as a father, as a husband, as a friend? It's like we are, junkies of metrics. We need KPIs. And I understand it. I get it. Most of the time we have to show people like tangible numbers. But if we focus on performance, which is the P in KPI, the problem is that we might be losing the focus on results, on success, on impact. What's the one problem we are trying to solve here? We're trying to get a bus from Barcelona to Madrid. That's the problem. There are associated problems like time, speed, fuel consumption. Okay, perfect. You have to manage those. But the problem is we have to get closer to Madrid. And then the questions that everyone is asking all the time is, how much money have we burned? How many things have we done? Is the team morale up? And all those things are really, really important, provided that we are providing value, that we are doing something that actually matters. In fact, John Doerr, who was the creator of the OKR framework at Intel at the beginning with Andy Grove, and then in Google with the CEO, Eric Schmidt, and then later on in many other companies, when he wrote a book about OKRs, the title was Measuring What Matters. So for me, it's not about setting a goal like 600 kilometers and a goal of beating our previous speed, 100 kilometers per hour, and the goal of not going above 60 liters of diesel. Those are nice targets to meet, but the goal, the one thing that we're trying to do here is solve a problem. What problem is that? Reaching Madrid. So the one metric of results should be, how close are we to Madrid? And if you are reporting that metric and you are saying, okay, we are 600 kilometers from Madrid, 550, 500, 450, 450, 450, 500, I can say, okay, something's going wrong. We've lost our road. And I don't care if we're going super fast, we are going super fast in the wrong direction. So the one most important metric, the key result here should be, how close are we to Madrid? And this one specific small change that you make in your projects and in your reporting and in your conversation is huge. It creates an amazing shift in people's mindset, because people start focusing about, what are we trying to solve here? In another way of saying it, there's a lot of KPIs. There's a lot of KPIs. You can measure velocity, throughput, profit, delay, cost, scope, size, but there is a few measures of success. And you have to define what's success to you. Some people wrongly ask me, hey, can you tell me some KRs for human resources? Hey, can you tell me some good KRs for marketing? And I'm like, dude, tell me about your strategy. Tell me about your product. Tell me about your customer. Tell me about the problem you are trying to solve. And then maybe after some conversations, I might be able to suggest some objectives, some key results. But this is not like a pre-packed template of indicators that you put on top of whatever you have, and then suddenly you are Google. This is the one mistake we've made with agility, and we are making it again when it comes to objectives and key results. We want to be like Google. We want to be like Spotify. So we print the Spotify model on top of our whatever we are doing, and we keep doing whatever we were doing. No, this is about having more conscious businesses, like ditching the idea of managing by objectives, which Edward Deming already said like half a century ago, he was saying, stop assigning quotas to people. Stop measuring if people are meeting their pre-assigned target and quota. You should be focusing on recovering the pride of the workforce instead. Having people that are proud that they're coming every day to work because they know that they are providing value, they are solving a problem for someone else, and they are doing something that they feel proud about. The bigger picture. This is John Doerr when he talks about the OKRs, but it's also David Marquette. If you have the opportunity of reading this book, Turn the Ship Around. It's about, it has a military story about how this guy was assigned like the worst possible submarine in the Navy. And he had like 1 year to put it in service. And he was like, it's not going to happen. And then he tells the story about he managed to turn the ship around and turn it into the best submarine in the US Navy, like the one that had the best reviews and the best scores, not in the Pacific Oceans, not the Atlantic Ocean, in the whole Navy ever in history. And he did it by saying, I refuse to give another order. I will never give another order to my crew. What I'm going to do is I'm going to coach my crew until they are available to do it by themselves, okay? I've also talked about Fred Kaufman, and I gave you this idea of the conscious business. And I also talked about Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek, he has this idea of the golden circle, and he has a talk, a small speech, look for it, that says, start with why. And he gives several ideas which are in the same direction of OKRs, which is like, who is our customer? What's the problem? What are we trying to solve? And then focus on that. And then after understanding what's the one measure of success for us, then we can start to develop successful strategies and goals and targets and projects and tasks and deadlines, but never lose focus on what are we trying to achieve here. Also, Jim Collins in this book, which I recommend, which is Good to Great. Jim Collins in Good to Great, it's an amazing book. He speaks, he talks about the companies in the United States that have been able to beat the average results of the Standard & Poor's 500, which is the 500 best companies in the United States, according to stock results. And these companies have been even better than the average for 20 years in a row. And when he studies these companies, he said that one of the things they do is they focus first on who, then in what. It's like they focus on having the right people on the bus, like selecting the right people for our company, our culture, our problem to solve, our clients, and then allow those people to figure out what they should be doing in order to achieve this success. This is a huge turnaround in the prevailing knowledge on how companies should be managed, which is like people on top, they are the smartest of all, and they will tell people on the bottom what to do. And if they ask why, we tell them, because I tell you so, I'm your boss, I'm your manager, just do whatever you're told. You are not paid to think. Have you ever seen that terrible sentence? So for me, OKRs, it's a good tool to start this conversation. It's not about setting goals. It's about understanding why. It's about understanding what is success for us. It's about moving from this project mentality to a more problem mentality. And then the last theoretical bit, it's when I come to companies and they start implementing like OKRs, one thing that happens is that the people in marketing, they will have their objectives and their key results. And then the people in technology, they will have their objectives and key results. And then the people in sales, and this is a mistake. This is again siloed thinking, and it is not what we are trying to achieve. The one big thing about OKRs, it's identifying value streams, like saying this is something we are trying to achieve in this company. This is our compass. This is our true north, Hoshin in Japanese. And then in order to achieve this, how do we get people from marketing, technology, sales, and operations to work together and then move this needle? And this is the one thing that OKR should be, allowing and enabling in companies. Short story, I arrived this airline in Latin America and I attended one meeting by the top managers, by the executive managers on the company. And then they asked me, how did you like the management team meeting? And I said, well, to be honest, I saw a bunch of managers, and I saw very, very little team, because of what I saw is the sales director, she stood up and she talked about the sales budget and the sales strategic plan and the sales need, and then she sat down. And then the technology manager, he stood up and he talked about the technology budget and the technology strategy and the technology goals and the technology needs. And then he sat down, and this went over and over and over until everyone had the chance to talk about their stuff. What I'd like to see, and the one thing I introduce with OKRs in companies, is I talk to the top managers and I say, what I want to see is, hey guys, we have this problem. We've lost the Latin American market. And this is our goal right now, to recover all these people in Latin America that have forgotten how great our company is. So solve it from me. And then I want the marketing guy, the saleswoman, the technology guy, the operation woman to look at each other and say, hey, how do we deal with this? And then start scheming and planning and collaborating and having like this task force, this cross-functional thing, if you want to take it in like usual agility terms, and work together. And the one measure of success is not if you deliver something or not. You have a needle, and that needle is pointing you out if your efforts are actually successful or not. This is a huge change on how companies operate, okay? I don't know, I think I still have like 5 minutes. Am I right? I don't know, Galina, if you are there and you can help me unmuting yourself.
Yeah, I guess it will be good if we go to questions in 5 minutes.
5 minutes for questions? Perfect. I mean, I'm on time, because the last thing I wanted to show you is this tool, okay? And I know many of you are like, trying to read the tool now and like going closer to your monitors. Don't. And if you're really, really curious, I can send you some information about these tools. This is a company in 2015, like 5 years ago. They were so into OKR thinking and this whole philosophy that they created their own tool. And now that tool is available online. You can find it. I'm zero associated to this tool. Like I'm not earning any money by selling the tool, but it's called Hoshin Plan. You see Hoshin up here, okay? And the idea of the Hoshin Plan is that let me use another color, because brown I use for the manure, for the horse shit. This company, in a particular moment of time, they decided that the whole strategy will have like 4 axes. This is a company that is, it's a website where you can post job offers. So we have one kind of clients, which is the candidates, people that are looking for a job. We have the companies, people that are looking for candidates. Then we have our own people, which are also a kind of a client, and that's matter for another talk. And they decided also that the big asset that they have is the technology, all the infrastructure, all the website that allowed candidates and companies to, you know, connect together with the help of the people of our company and the technology of our company. At some given moment of time, they decided this was a good way to organize their strategy. So what they did is for each of these, strategic lines, they decided, they set for a set of objectives. Okay, you can see some objectives here in candidates. And then for each of these objectives, what they did is they created some indicators, some key results. And then what they did is, okay, what am I doing right now in order to influence these indicators that are the ones that are telling me if I am achieving my goals or not? And then a conversation started between the top managers saying, hey, this is what I'm trying for the company in 2015, between the middle managers that were translating this company into objectives and key results, and then from the teams that were proposing different strategies and alternatives, and also were discussing if these are correct indicators and metrics for the kind of objectives that we have defined here. And then at every given moment of time, we can get objectives in and out of the picture, and then we can get like KRs in and out of the picture. And we are reviewing this every day. And we are also reviewing this like very, very thoroughly every 2 or 3 months. Like we stop the whole operation on the company, and for 1 day or 2, we just focus on the Hoshin, which is what we are calling this. It comes from Toyota Disciplines. And And it was great. We had like 2 or 3 simple rules. Rule number 1, everyone in the company knows the Hoshin plan. Everyone can see this. This is transparent. There's radical visibility. You can see what everyone is working on, and you can see what are the relevant metrics for the business right now. And you can see if we are doing great, like in green, or if we are not doing quite good. You can see red. So rule number 1, everyone can see the Hoshin plan for the whole company all the time. Lesson number 2, when the top managers were meeting, the only thing they were allowed to discuss was this, the Hoshin. You couldn't have a top executive meeting and then people start discussing salaries or well, maybe salaries is here, but the parking lots. There are few parking lots. People are complaining that there are very, very few parking spaces in these offices. Sorry, excuse me. It's the parking situation in the Hoshin? No. Should it be? No. Then this is not topic for a conversation between top managers. Top managers are the people that are giving us a direction, are the people that are giving us the true north. And the whole time you are together, that time is so valuable. You should focus on looking at the strategy, not that operational stuff. Rule number 1, the Hoshin is visible for everyone. Rule number 2, top managers, they are only able to discuss the strategy, the Hoshin. And then rule number 3 is I should be able to ask everyone in the company, hey, you know the Hoshin? Yeah, I know it. You know our strategy for candidates? Yes. What is it? Oh, want to have happy candidates. We want to have more candidates. And we also want to be, in this moment of time, number 1 in mobile applications. And good, you know our strategy. And now tell me, what are you doing this week that is relevant for the strategy? And if people say nothing or I don't know, that's a problem, because that's how people get disconnected from a higher vision of what are we trying to achieve here. So again, for me, it's not a tool to set, target and quotas and goals. For me, the important thing is not that we meet these numbers here that we're trying to meet. This is a tool for learning, and this is a tool for connecting everyone with a higher vision, with a higher purpose. And then after that, you can use it for many, many other things. But for me, the great thing that people are missing when they are implementing OKRs is how it aligns, hopefully, the whole company and all the efforts. We prioritize the ones that are moving the needles, and also we assure that these things that are the strategic things are the ones that take enough attention. Something that also happens many times is that people focus on business as usual, and they forget about strategy. And how do we keep people connected to those things that are maybe not urgent today, but they are relevant and they matter in the future when it comes to achieving our goals? So that, for me, is the great thing about OKRs. And those were my 40 minutes. I think I basically nailed them.